Hey, it's taken me quite a while to um record these because I'm really struggling to find a structure, but this is all a work in progress. It's all gonna work out. It's absolutely fine. Okay, so this is episode I think 5 of Passenger Seat, and in the last episode we were talking about self-love. I wanted to kind of explain it a little bit better and said in the last episode that I was going to write in my diary, like I was going to write some notes for this episode. So we're going to try and figure this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read all of this out and then explain and expand more rather than stopping and starting, which is what I've been doing in the last takes and it just wasn't working as smoothly. I also want to say this mic, I really hope it's okay because when I was listening to it back, it just sounded a bit weird, but I can't be asked to go in my own house up the stairs and change it. So just excuse this thing. I thought she was cute. That's the only reason why I changed it. I thought it was cute. Anyway, I'm gonna try and keep it here because it actually helps rather than me wafting it around like a fucking conductor. Okay, so episode 5: How deep love should really go. How deep self love should really go. Okay. So I gave my side dish of a story to that shift in perspective, which was hopefully still helpful. The catalyst really did make a massive difference. I feel like a shift in perspective, a shift in your microcosm is really, really healthy. I honestly, it is such a privilege to go on trips, but if I had the money, I'd be going on trips all the time because it really allows you to recognize how lucky you are to live on this, I know not always beautiful planet, and not wanting to waste it. I said I wasn't gonna fucking talk in between these, but we're doing it. And how important it is to not take it for granted and not allow these thoughts in your freaking head to control or stop your life. Um, so it was still help. I really hope that is still helpful to someone, to those who can afford it and have been saying, "Oh, I really think I should just go away for a bit." This is your sign. Do it. Do it. But anyways, I want to refocus on my initial take of this false advertisement of how self-love should be or how it should look. The amount of times I'd seen, you know, like a couple of friends maybe. I had one friend that was very on it about loving herself and it's always very focused on that. I feel like most of my friends are, but there's just one that really came to mind, no longer a friend. Anyway, and also like influencers that I've come across that are all about self-love. I really love myself and now I go on trips and I go to the gym and you know what I mean? All these kind of like social media gimmicky kind of portrayals of self-love, and it kind of used to bug me because it just didn't come across authentic at all. It just felt gimmicky. It was like, oh, so you're telling me, I hated myself and then suddenly I love myself, but there was never really any explanation of how you got there. And not only was it that, it was also like, of course, I think I said this in the last video, but like, of course you love yourself. You're able to afford all these things, but that's also not the key to self-love either. There's people that have so much money and are still so lonely. I know of I don't know. I've heard of stories of family friends or stories that I've heard, right, where people that are so wealthy have no one because that doesn't they spend all their time trying to fill that void, and yet are still, once they thought they had achieved exactly what they thought they needed to feel better about themselves, it still wasn't enough. That void was still there. um but yeah, like how it was sold to me via seeing people like showing their aesthetically pleasing um happy self-love, acceptance videos, was that it was just really one layered, and how I interpreted it was almost like it was all unauthentic, which I said, like, what's the catch? Like, what? This is almost too good to be true. Anyway, no one really discusses the steps to how to get there and how deep it should go. I feel like people just think that this is a one and done, like, fixed. You know what I mean? Once you've figured it out, that's it. But it's a constant search, a constant journey, not a search, because you find yourself and then you just continue to find out more about yourself. You know what I mean? Um, and I know in the last video I was like, oh, people can tell you, do this and do that, but it just won't stick. So I really hope what I'm saying isn't a bit hypocritical. um, but you could love yourself and yet still fall into a cycle of, you know, not feeling like this is enough or being frustrated with why you're still not happy. You know what I mean? You could still have a love for yourself, but not find a root for that love. And I feel like that's the difference. I feel like I'm losing my point every time I try and get one. um, but yeah, so you could love yourself and yet still fall into a cycle, because what people often forget to consider is holding themselves accountable and having a level of self-awareness and critique. Like the amount of people I know that will repent for their sins but not apologize for what they did to the person, for example, or apologize to themselves for what they've done to themselves. You know what I mean? Like that kind of mentality is oh, okay, if I write about it, that's enough. No, hold yourself accountable. What did you do to make to cause this to happen to you? Like you got to hold yourself into account. Like, let me say this a little bit better. I recognized that in past relationships and friendships, they've all been friendships anyway, I noticed that, it would start off really nice, and then all of a sudden they would just turn really, really sour and horrible and fuck me over in such a horrible way. And my initial thing was like, I don't get what I'm doing wrong. Like, why can't my friendships just be solid? Why do they always have to work out the same way? But that's down to you, babe, because you attract what you think you deserve. And that's what took me so long to really get my head around. You attract what you think you deserve. And also like how I had a bit of an attachment issue, like the fear of losing people, and I also wanted to give people the love that I wanted in hopes of it kind of being reciprocal. And I don't know, I look back at one of my last fallouts, right? And they were very insecure, and I used to be like, you're so talented, you're so this, you're so that, and really boost their ego to the point that they actually thought they were too good for me, like like dead ass. And I've never said that before. That felt really unnatural, and it looked it too. um, anyway, it felt like they would literally take all they could from me and then throw it back in my face. And I was like, okay, obviously those people are just as accountable because you're taking advantage of someone that is really being good to you. You know what I mean? But it's also down to how I um like not overdo it, but kind of overdo it to the wrong people, or want to seek validation from other people. I want people to feel special, and I want them to feel like I'm a really good, like a really good friend, and that they're lucky to have me, and that I want this friendship to be really vital in my life. And I want, like, how am I supposed to say this? Like, I really want to be perceived as a good person, which I am, and I don't have to force that. I don't have to be such a I lost my train of thought. It's gonna be there. um but my point is I held myself accountable to habits, to relationships, and how they would always go down, the patterns in that, and really addressed it and constructively criticized my way of thinking, and was like, I want better for myself. I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be treated this way. What can I do now to overcome that, to attract better relationships, attract better friendships, attract better things for myself? And that in itself is an act of self-love. It is, because you don't want yourself to go through it again. So now it's time to address why you're allowing it to happen. How is this happening? What is the root of it all? And it really has refreshed my respect for myself, my worth for myself, um my values, the boundaries I want with people, my communication with people. I'm not afraid to tell people how I feel, you know, like, and not in a rude way, but like, say for example, if I'm exhausted and I don't want to go out, I'll be like, hey, I can't do today. Like, I really have been prioritizing myself, and that therefore is also an act of self-love. I hope that made sense. um so I'm gonna go to the next. Yeah. So now the phrase, you're your own worst critic, doesn't have to be worst, but instead constructive. Criticizing yourself constructively rather than to worsen your perception of yourself through critique is really where the magic comes. Magic starts, magic happens. Also, the tone in which you talk to yourself goes a long way. And this is so true. I used to talk to myself like I was a flipping idiot. I was like, for God's sake, Charlie, why the fuck are you doing that? You're so stupid. You're so this, calling myself names all the time and talking to myself so harshly. I'm not going to completely give myself credit. I actually found like an I know you're going to hate this, but affirmations. There's like an app called I Am, not sponsored because obviously look at the amount of fucking subscribers, right? And it had like, um, you can customize it to what you would like to feel better about yourself with, like how you feel, how you look, how you deal with situations. You can customize it. I can't remember exactly because it's a while ago. And I was allowing notifications to come like, no, not every 10 minutes. Oh my God, that'd be too much. But like, you can have 10 a day, or, however much a day. And as much as it was kind of bugging me when I first had it, I was like, okay, yeah. But like, when it started literally coming every few seconds, and especially when I needed it, I'd be like, yeah, no, you're right. And it would just gradually reprogram my subconscious. And I think that really helped me tune into that positive thinking and positive conversation with myself. I talk to myself a lot, and I actually really recommend it. I feel like people that don't talk to themselves are a bit strange. Like, and I didn't realize actually how much I did talk to myself, because I had I went on a trip a couple weeks back with my friends, and I was cooking in the kitchen for them because we're at B&B and trying to save on money, of course. And I was actually talking to myself the whole time, but didn't realize it. And my friend was like, Charlie, you told yourself so much. It's kind of cute. Like, you sound like a, I don't know if this is a good compliment. She's like, you're like a Studio Ghibli, character. And because I'm like, oh, don't burn yourself. Okay. Let's do this and let's do that. I feel like that's a really healthy, like, talking to yourself is so healthy. It must be. Like, I'm not, fucking doing it too much. Like, I'm doing it in my own private space. And just completely, like, I feel like rekindling that relationship with yourself by talking to yourself is almost kind of obvious. Like, um, but yeah, like, you want to reparent yourself, you want to reteach yourself all these values, all these um nice affirmations, nice comments or compliments to give yourself. Like, I don't know about anyone else, but the way people have talked to me growing up has always been quite harsh, and I didn't realize how much that has kind of stuck with me until recently. So I want to be that person for myself, to tell myself that I'm doing a great job, that I'm being, so committed to something I'm doing, to, anything like that. So I hope that made sense too. Um, so with the help of an affirmations app that defo subconsciously fed me positive thoughts of myself, and then in brackets, and something I still have, plus this constructive non-obsessive criticism, it really helped. You don't want, yeah, I feel like sometimes when you're critiquing yourself really harshly, it becomes obsessive, because you feel like it's giving you the right reward. Like, I don't know, there have been times where I was like, Charlie, you know, being really unhealthy, like having a really unhealthy relationship with food, with working out, with my body. And I was like, the only way I'm going to get good results is by talking to myself harshly. I've been seeing, like, on TikTok at the moment, like, these videos of girls being like, show me hacks to how to lose, what helped you really lose weight. And the comments are so horrible. And like, you know full well that they're talking to themselves. They're like, oh yeah, I just kept on calling myself this and I kept on calling myself that and it helped. But like she still didn't they still didn't have a great relationship with their body, with their food, with anything. And it's actually really sad that we feel like that is the best way to kind of get us to where we've got to be. Like the world is already harsh enough, as much as I'm saying, yeah, take a trip. But the world is already really harsh on women, harsh on us. Why are we then adding more pressure to ourselves? But yeah. Um you don't want a toxic relationship with yourself. You know what I mean? You don't want a toxic relationship, period. So, completely period. so, so just don't do it. Like, please talk to yourself nicely. Like, I remember I had a music teacher, shout out her. She was so nice. I need to reach out to her again because she really, really, oh, I really should. Because she, like, I know I was talking about teachers in one of my first videos, but she was the only teacher that really, really gave me, like, grace, gave me time. And she was my form tutor and she asked to be my form tutor in sixth form too, so that she could be there for me throughout the whole thing. And she was so patient with me with music, and she used to always recognize little things that I did. Oh, that's so sweet. Like anytime I used to get really like nice sorry, I'm really going off on one. I when we were in assembly, I used to write like quotes that were in the assembly sometimes because I liked them, and she used to be like, "Oh, Charlie, I think it's really sweet that you write in your planner whilst what like in assembly." Like she just used to say really sweet things like that. And she actually, my mum was like, "I think she literally went to have a baby after you left." Like, and she was right. She literally, I don't know if she waited for me to finish school, but yeah, shout at her. She told me the advice she said talk to yourself like you're your best friend. Like talk to yourself like you would talk to your best friend. And that's so true. Like I would never, have a go at someone. And it took me a really long time to hear that advice, like only up till now. And I finished school what, fucking 7 years ago. So, and she'd been telling me that since year seven. Talk to yourself like you're your best friend. And I think that is a really good bit of advice. Like you wouldn't want to talk to anyone the way you talk about yourself, would you? So why are you doing that? Come on now. Anyway, so to better my way of life, my connection and the way I feel about myself really deepen the love I have for myself. Did you understand that? Because none of that actually registered for me. Wait. To better my way of life, my connection and the way I to better my way of life, my connection and the way I feel about myself really deepen the love I have for myself. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, now how I did it was not a constant project job. I wasn't, as I said before, obsessing, but I have really tuned into my reaction towards something or someone or anything. So say for example, what was one that happened recently? Um, yeah, the constant battle I had with in relationships was one. Um, my fear of learning new things, my anxiousness around certain people, mainly men. I had a really big fear of men, and it's still kind of ongoing, and it's still valid. But I don't want it to completely consume me. So that's something I'm still working on, and I'm not afraid to share because it is a very common thing. But I really tuned into my reaction with people. So, for example, I was literally in a class a week ago, and a new guy. It was an all female. It used to be an all women's yoga, and then not because it had to be, but it just was. And there were a new guy came, and he was next to me, and I was just really anxious, but he was lovely. Do you know what I mean? But I could really feel my body kind of feeling really anxious. And that's something I need to still kind of write about and still need to overcome because it's a multi-layered thing that I will figure out once and tell you once I figured that out. But see, this is the thing, like I'm not critiquing every single thing I do. Oh, the way I wash my hands, the way I you know what I mean? Like I'm not absolutely zoning on every single thing I do, but things that if I have like a negative reaction, an anxious reaction to something, or yeah, like I've said about 3 billion times in different ways, I'll write about it. So um yeah, so and it's so like I just gave examples. Sorry, I should have just read those. This could be having nightmares before a time of the year, like a specific time period that was quite traumatic for you, or having this constant battle of relationships. And as soon as I did, I'd write. I'd sit with it because 9 times out of 10, it really is that deep, and it's always something possible to overcome. If it's something that has been really bugging you, I know writing isn't for everyone, but I really would recommend it. It's such a peaceful thing to do. And I know it's not for everyone, but if you have another way to kind of talk it out, I actually use my MacBook sometimes and use the photo booth part, and I just like kind of rant about something. So not I don't always write either. So finding a way to kind of figure it out, um, it really kind of brings you to the root, or to the like a really valid like explanation that you didn't even realize was a big deal. And yeah, um so when you work on it, your subconscious appreciate. Okay, this is how I imagine it. But this might not be true, but this is kind of how it feels for me anyway. When you work on it, your subconscious appreciates the attentiveness you're giving yourself, and it builds and builds and builds, and you end up falling even deeply in love with yourself. Do you know what I mean? To the point that you hardly give a shit about anyone and their opinion of you. It's so true. It's so true, Charlie. You're correct. But it's exactly that. Like it's a ongoing progress. But once your mind or your emotions or that connection to a situation is like recognized and dealt with, I feel like my body just feels so much relief. It's like this, because at the end of the day, I feel like people are just making out like, it's only in your head, but like it can completely stop you from doing things that you used to love. It can completely stop you from being who you want to be, and it traps you, and it makes it even, yeah, like there'll be times where I'm like, oh, I really want to get fit. For example, I want to be able to run, I want to work out. Um, but I don't know why I'm going back to that scenario, but it's kind of, yeah, whatever. And then I'd be like, why am I not wanting to work out? Why am I not wanting to do this? Why am I stopping myself from doing that? Why am I not allowing myself? And once I kind of realize that, it completely reprograms my brain. And I know it's really not that, I don't know. I feel kind of, I said this in another video, I feel kind of guilty for just kind of giving a generalized and kind of one only perspective of how it can work. But if that kind of rings true for you, or ring I'm just using words now, I'm not even making sense. If this kind of gives you something to work with, I really hope it does, because I feel like sometimes you build this idea up so much in your head where it's almost like impossible. If you just have someone be constructively criticize yourself. Don't over obsess over yourself. Talk to yourself like you talk to your friend. Address any triggers, and write about it and express about it. Like, that's only four pretty simple things, and in time, over time, it will get easier. Life just gets so much easier for you. And again, I feel like I'm making it out like it's a really easy thing. But it can be if you allow it to, and if you're open to it. I feel like you being open to trying to make a change is already a big step in the right direction. And also understanding that it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to be a constant thing. You should change the way you think of it as being a dreading thing, because I was like, oh, for God's sake, I thought I did it all. I thought I'd figured it out already. Like, this was a couple months ago. I was like, oh, another thing has come up now. But if you kind of accept that, like, this is just how life is, this is how it's always going to be, and that's completely okay, it just deepens and deepens over time. Um, I really have a hunch this is not going to be a great video, and I apologize for that. I feel like the reason why I'm kind of doing talking videos generally on YouTube, which is a bit of exposure therapy, is because I struggle with talking a little bit sometimes, or trying to get my head around an idea that I've got in my head. I feel like I have so many. If you could take a look inside someone's head, like inside out, like there'll just be so many words. Like I've got so many words going on in my head, and I'm just trying to figure out which way to fit them in each time, and I keep on forgetting what I'm saying. So this is kind of like a bit of a memory game for me, helping me kind of keep on a conversation, keep on track. So this is a good bit of practice for me too. But yeah, if you have any comments, critiques, I'll take it. Um, I am all ears. If you've got any thoughts or opinions, um, I'd probably be better at writing a response anyways than talking. But yeah, this is 25 minutes, almost 26. I will wrap it up now. Thank you so much for your time. I really hope this was okay. I'm gonna love you and leave you, and see you in the next video. Bye.